Why are you listening?
Why are you different?
Why are you here?
Why are you connected?
Why are you inspired?
Why are you tuned in?
Why are you on CJRU?
This is YRU on CJRU, and tonight we're going to talk about highlights of 2016. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so I'm here sitting with Sandy, Lalo, Audrey, and myself, and we're going to talk to you guys about, some highlights. So, first off, what happened this past year that had an impact on you? So was it politics that impacted you primarily?
Well, I guess you can say politics sort of impacted me, whether if it's at home or abroad, particularly in the United States.
So what about the United States?
Just how it's become a crazy presidential race, particularly Donald Trump and all of his shenanigans. So
do you want to tell our listeners about what some shenanigans that Donald Trump is up to?
It's a long list. I'm really not sure which ones to choose because they just are all outrageous.
Coming back to Canadian politics, I know that two things happened, or one happened earlier or later in 2015, but is really kind of more pressing now, which was the inauguration, is that the word, of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Lalo, did you want to talk a bit about the impacts that he's made throughout 2016?
Well, so far, I think a lot of the impacts that he has made have been relatively positive. Since taking office, he has enjoyed a honeymoon, which is lasting for a very long time, despite many attempts to stop it, like Elbowgate. Some of the many popular things that he has done is appoint a gender-equal cabinet, reach his goal of accepting 25,000 Syrian refugees, restore funding to the long-form census, and repealing the Two-Tier Citizenship Act.
Well, that sounds all very impressive. Actually, did you know that before Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister, he was a high school teacher? Probably.
I did hear that. I think he was was he an actual teacher or was he just a substitute teacher for drama or math or French?
Yeah, I don't know. I know he taught French, which seems fitting because he was born in Ottawa. And of course, everyone knows he's the eldest son of Prime Minister Trudeau, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So I guess he's probably the only person in the world who could pull off that switch from high school teacher to Prime Minister.
So far, yes. But still, many people have pulled them out of doing rather unusual jobs to their high respective ranks in their own rights.
This is true. I don't know if he even could foresee this, but Forbes ranked him the 69th most powerful person in the world. That seems pretty impressive. Okay, moving on. Someone who is also a front runner in Canadian politics, or more so Ontario politics, is Kathleen Wynne, who is now our current premier. When did she get into when was she
into office?
Yeah.
Well, she first became the premier of Ontario in 2013, and before becoming premier, she was an MPP for Don Valley West since 2003. Did something about revising the sex ed curriculum amongst TDSB schools? That's true, she did.
And was that met with open arms, or was there some controversy there?
Well, I for one found this to be positive and I think a very progressive change. However, these changes were met with controversy and criticism not only by the opposition parties but among parents and conservatives. Sure. Yeah, it's always implementing something that's already kind of a bit risky to talk about in our society. I think would automatically be met with some criticism. But I think kudos for her for still doing it anyways. Okay, so moving on, what was something else more so in European and particularly British politics that was of interest this year? Well, I think the common interest overall was the British exit, commonly known as Brexit.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it was a referendum that took place this June on whether the United Kingdom would remain in the European Union or not.
Okay, so can we kind of get the pros and cons?
I'm not so sure if I see any cons, nor do I actually see any pros, but I know that the topic of Britain being in the EU has long been a topic of debate. The country joined what was originally called the European Economic Community in 1973, and there actually was a referendum on whether to continue that membership in 1975.
So why the outcry now?
David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister then, wanted to please the Eurosceptics within his own party and promised better negotiations with the EU. He wanted to give the people of the United Kingdom a democratic choice.
Okay, so he wanted to basically give them the option to leave it or stay with it?
Yes.
Okay.
He himself was for Remain.
Okay, he wanted to stay a part of the EU. And does he say why?
He felt that by staying in the EU, it would be good for jobs, trade investment, and just it also builds a strong sense of community.
Probably be a huge thing. It's almost like I can compare it to here in Canada with Quebec wanting to separate, right?
Sort of, yeah.
Oh, which, by the way, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is opposed to. Thank you for sharing that. So on a lighter note, there's a celebrity who has been in the news quite often throughout this year. Oh, most years, but particularly 2016. He goes by the name of Justin Bieber. He is age 22. I just did some quick facts on Wikipedia. His net worth is $200 million. I do not know many 22-year-olds whose net worth is $200 million with a salary of $60 to $80 million annually.
Especially for a Canadian.
Yes, exactly.
At that young an age.
Exactly. Actually, talking about his career starting, it started in 2007. He was discovered by his current manager, Scooter Braun, through some YouTube videos of him singing at a competition, which he ironically placed in second, which I thought was kind of funny, but I don't think he really cares about that anymore, considering he's been moving on to bigger and better things, one of them being his latest album, Purpose, which was just released in November of 2015. I mean, you can tell me what your thoughts are, which I think was a huge move in his career. Someone described it as him turning from like a pop star icon to an actual artist, which I thought was pretty fitting. The vibe is kind of like EDM. There's some R&B there. Of course, there's still the pop that everyone loves. I thought the move was pretty risky in that he's probably going to lose some of his younger fan base. His good boy his good boy appearances kind of go down the drain. But I guess you kind of eventually have to stop pretending and just say, hey, I'm 22 and we grew up, right? We're not always that perfect person that you want us to be. Though he did make some mistakes in the media, which I feel like in this new album he's trying to clean up with the song Sorry and just kind of trying to fix his image, which I guess is always a good thing. But for me, it just seems like he wants to keep...
He wants sympathy.
Yeah, he wants sympathy, or he just wants every fan that he can possibly get. But, we can either look at it cynically or positively.
I think, on the whole, it's a very neutral response. Sort of a hot and cold moment.
With the song Sorry?
Not just with that, but just the way how he's trying to present himself.
Like,
yes, there have been improvements, but I don't think they've been quite enough.
Interesting. What do you think would be enough?
Really just... The only simplistic answer that I can give is just try to be a normal, nice person and not try to be someone who's very, cocky or
right.
Just anything like that.
Okay, so here I have Audrey sitting with me, and Audrey is one of the founding and heads of the YRU radio show. I am just wondering about music, so... Who's your favorite artist?
Okay, that is a super hard question, and I'm sorry, but I do like the Justin Bieber album. I was listening to Sorry, and I've seen too many versions of it, but I do like the mixing and all the stuff that went into the album. But I thought it was interesting. I feel like this year was Toronto's year. Everybody was talking about Toronto, from Justin Bieber to Justin Trudeau to Drake. This was the place to be, and I sort of feel like this year, for some reason, we really got on the map, just musically, but also just political wise, and everything else it's a great city. It was a good time to be a Torontonian. So yeah, I just had to throw that out there. But I did like the Justin Bieber album and the Drake album and everybody else's album. But my favorite artist, I can't really answer that. I think for 2016 it's been a mix of just listening to everybody. Anybody from Toronto, I've been really supporting that. I don't know, Sandy. I don't know. What do you?
Well, favorite artist, yeah, that's a hard one for me too. But definitely for me this year, it's Gregory Porter. He's a jazz singer. He's still a little bit fringe, I guess, although I think more people are getting to know who he is. Totally great, soulful lyrics and kind of a jazz, gospel, blues cross. He's not from Toronto. He's from Bakersfield, California. But I saw him at the Toronto Jazz Festival. So there's that Toronto connection. And he said he loved Toronto. So, I know they say that in every city, but he meant it in Toronto.
Favorite artist at the moment, I'm going to go with Sloan. Even though they're currently based in Toronto, they're originally from Halifax. I think very good Canadian band, though I think somewhat underrated. Especially with like the type of music like they had like during the 90s and even now. I feel like those are songs that really generally should be hits, but some of them like either just did not chart as high or as anywhere else as I thought they would have been, with a few exceptions, or some didn't chart at all. And I just feel like even by Canadian standards, that really wasn't enough. I find that their music is very energetic and just they knew how to experiment, but also stay within the mood of the times.
At this point, we will now entertain you with a musical break.
That was Canadian artist Shad with his 2007 track, Brother.
Welcome back to the show. Here we just have started to join us is Cody. He's going to enter the conversation with all his insight. So we were just talking about music and specifically Justin Bieber. Now we want to kind of change the page and talk about the Tragically Hip. So Sandy has a few words on that. So take it away, Sandy.
Well, the theme of the show being kind of what's happened in the last year that's impacted on us. Of that generation that, when we heard about Gord Downie being extremely ill, I guess, dying of brain cancer, it feels like somebody told you your best friend is going to die. I'm not going to the concert. A lot of people ask me. I was a Hip fan. I am a Hip fan. I'm not a fan of Hip fans. I used to go to this thing called Another Roadside Attraction that Gord Downie would get all these great artists together, and then it would be like a whole day festival, and then the Hip would be like the last act, like the headlining act. And so he'd have like Daniel Lanois and Jane Siberry and all these great Canadian artists, and some were more obscure than others. Sometimes the Rheostatics played, but really their fans were just there for them. Okay. So it was like, I remember one year they were like all throwing water bottles at Jane Siberry, and it was like, oh, it's such disrespect, and to think that Gord Downie had kind of curated this show, and they were kind of even disrespecting him by not paying attention and not giving due respect to his artist that he chose. I just felt, I didn't think I could go. I felt it could be kind of too emotional. And now, like, when I listen to some of their lyrics, like, I haven't listened to them for a while, but of course, with this news, I kind of had pulled it all out again and started listening. And some of the lyrics are just, like, extremely poignant, and people have pointed this out. Even, like, a song like Courage, and you think of him being on this tour and I think of his family, too, like, he's taking this time that's very precious. Like, all of our time is precious, but he knows it's precious. Yeah. And he's taking it away from, he could be with his family, but I guess probably as a family, they made a decision that he would tour, right? So it's kind of beautiful and heartbreaking. I'm glad people are going, and so it's just not for me personally, but that's a big one. He'll be missed. He's a huge talent, massive talent, not just musically, but like lyrically, and he's written amazing articles and stuff. So that's going to be a big loss for the Canadian music scene. So that's a big one for me.
Great, thanks, Sandy.
What I found really interesting about what you said was about not liking Hip fans. Mm-hmm. I found very interesting. There's a bit of a phenomenon on event pages for bands where people, the page will be inundated with requests for set times so that people can know specifically when people go on, so they can go specifically to see the people that they want to see.
Right.
And it's sort of seen as this really negative part of the sort of music culture that's building right now, because, when you want to go to a show, you're just supposed to support all of the artists that come, regardless of who you're actually there to see. And it's seen as very disrespectful, but it's also something that's done. It's like a little bit of a 50-50 crowd where like half of the people do it and the other half, it's gotten to the point where a lot of the times they just will refuse to release set times.
Right.
And if people want to come, they'll come.
Right.
That's so interesting. I don't think that was a thing. Well, social media wasn't really as big of a thing back then when another roadside attraction was happening. And when you first said it, I was like, what a great idea. I could have seen all these acts without having to deal with all these people that were really stoned and, just being obnoxious. But on the other hand, you do think of like the band is kind of, or whoever's choosing the opening act. Yeah. First of all, it's an opportunity for new artists and young artists and artists that aren't as known. And also, it's like the band that you're going to see or the artist you're going to see has chosen them or feels somehow they want to endorse them. So I kind of get that 50-50 thing. Yeah.
Because I think it's so kind of old school to be like, if you're the opening band for a big group, this is your big break, right? And now with the scheduling that you're talking about, there's ways to get around that. So that's kind of unfortunate.
And here's Daniel Lanois with Jolie Louise.
Ma jolie, how do you do? Mon nom est Jean-Guy Thibault.
On a heavier note is some big passings this year of huge, influential, popular culture icons. I mean, and even some that aren't as well known, but I think mostly those that are. Does someone want to take this over, or should I? Do you want me to name one and then you'll talk about it?
Rock, paper, scissors for it, guys.
Sure, we can rock, paper, scissors for it.
Right.
1, 2, 3. Well, that was a nice moment of levity to go with our heavy subject matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I was pretty profoundly affected by David Bowie's death. Yeah. Personally, it was just so sad and I suppose not necessarily unexpected to hear,
right?
Because he'd led quite a life, did quite a few things that probably should have taken him down before that. It's still really unexpected all the same, like being exposed to his music and the effect that he had on culture in general really are some of the most seminal moments. But yeah, he became absolutely seminal to the way I express myself as a person, and I can say that I listen to him once a day, and I have for years.
Okay, so it wasn't just because of his passing.
No, it wasn't just because of his passing. But when he did, when he did pass, I think I listened to about 6 or 7 of his albums in a day.
Right.
Just feeling sad.
Well, thank you for that, Cody. Next, we're going to talk about another huge figure, but this guy is more in the arena of athletics, and he is the boxer Muhammad Ali. So he was, of course, known for his boxing, but he was also took a public stance against the Vietnam War and also had Parkinson's disease. So I didn't realize that was something he had to deal with. The only thing I know about Muhammad Ali, just coming from someone who has done no research about him, is the quite kind of bold statements that he would make, talking about his speed in specific. Like, he had this one quote, like, when I turn off my light, I'm going to be in bed before the light goes off. Meaning he's faster than the speed of light, which I thought was pretty incredible for someone to feel that way about themselves. Which, I mean, I guess if you're one of the greatest boxers of all times, I totally get where the ego would be coming from. But it just kind of took me aback with that comment. Never mind that. Let's celebrate his life. So, does anyone know a bit about Muhammad Ali and wants to share some information on him?
Well, like you, I never really knew much about Muhammad Ali.
Right.
He was not just a very influential boxer,
Right.
just an influential person in general. He was very outspoken. He had personal guts, and just really the combination of being both a fighter and someone who is not afraid to say whatever he wants is really something that is very character building, and that's just a legacy that I think people will always look back on and remember saying, wow, this person did that or said this. In some ways, it's sort of a shame that we see that. Some people take that for granted. But I think like he sort of had a personal touch on those comments and and his actions.
Right.
Notice the pun on
In and outside of the ring, right?
That's pretty much about it. Personal guts and just a personal touch that I think, especially when he died, people were very saddened by that.
Yep.
Even people who wouldn't call themselves boxing fans.
Absolutely.
They just knew that Muhammad Ali was the guy who can say or do whatever, and in some respects, cause no trouble.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And there were so many people who died in 2016. Like Rob Ford died, and there was a huge funeral for him because he really impacted the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
Dubious influence on Toronto.
Well
quite
said there.
infamous. Anyway, back to the list of other people that we should.
No, I'm glad that you said that. I mean, someone had to, right?
I think in all honesty, like the fact that Rob Ford actually suffered cancer for 18 months, I mean, that really is sad and was very suffering.
I'm going to thanks. I just want to kind of keep it flowing here. So, that was Rob Ford.
Five Dog, Tribe Called Quest, lots of other people who died. Alan Rickman. There were so many people, and so many things that happened.
That was sort of the highlights of 2016. Like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening, and we will see you back in 2 weeks' time, same place. You are listening to YRU on CJRU.
We're good to go. This show is produced by the YRU creative team, Annika, Siobhan, Cody, Lalo, Jasmine, and Dante. Thanks to the Office of the Provincial Advocate for Children and Youth. Special thanks to Erwin Ellman, Ajay Thompson, Sandy Wanya Katz, Rhonda Andob, and the staff at CJRU.
No, but I like the fact it's like, why are you connected, and why are you like...
So you're a punny girl, aren't you?
I am. But I think you should listen to why are you either way.
The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of the Office of the Provincial Advocate for Children and Youth.